Good morning, everybody. I'll just give everyone a few minutes to join. Okay, so while we're just letting a few more people in, I think we'll start by covering off some introductions. So thank you all for joining us this morning to our session on navigating through challenging times, how nonprofits can adjust strategy to still deliver impactful marketing. So quite a mouthful at the start of the day. So I'm Joyce Harman, I'm a consultant at Hearth Square, and I'm delighted that we have Gavin and Sarah with us today. So first, I would just like to say, Gavin, would you quickly like to introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, I'm Gavin Laugenie, head of strategy and insight at dotdigital. Never know what to say at these times, so I can say I'm an Aries, perhaps.
Very good. I'm a Capricorn. There you go. We've got a new team. Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Sara Meikle, yeah, I'm Senior Loyalty Officer at Action for Children, and I will just join in on that. And I'm a Leo, and I'm a classic Leo to a T. So
Very good. Thank you. So just quickly to go over some housekeeping, if that's okay, Gavin. So just to say this session is being recorded. We really encourage people to ask questions. We want to try this to be as interactive as possible in sort of a virtual world. So for any questions that you have on any of the content, please use the Q&A box. And at the end, we will be going over all of the questions as well. If you have any technical problems or anything like that, please use the chat box, and my colleague Rebecca is in the background and she'll be keeping an eye on all of that. And if we could just ask if you can check that your microphone is on mute. Thank you. So what we're going to be covering this morning is just looking at some scene setting, which Gavin is going to cover. So looking at some of the challenges, that have been in these times. We do know at Hearth Square, with a lot of the clients and the projects that we've been working on, COVID has caused significant problems and challenges. And it's been really interesting how different organisations have dealt with that. So really interested to hear from Sarah and the work that they've done. So then we'll be going on to an interview with Sarah to talk about the great work that they've been doing, particularly on the Boycott Your Bed project. And then again saying, those questions, please do put them in and we'll be covering them then towards the end. So Gavin, over to you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So let's move on to this slide here. Right, so thanks for joining us this morning, guys. As I said already, I'm Gavin Laugenie, head of strategy and insight at dotdigital. Don't know why I told you I'm an Aries. I don't know what that means actually. But I'm going to go through this new channel. Who this? And I'm sorry about the title, but I heard something that sounds kind of catchy. And we're talking about 5 channels to prioritize in 2021. And there's a sort of a reason for that, because inboxes are sort of more crowded than ever before. So going to kind of go through that and kind of talk about where we've been left from last year and etc. I don't want this to be death by PowerPoint, but I do like a PowerPoint presentation, so hopefully it's interesting for you. But honestly, most of this is, I think most of you are going to take away from today is going to be through the conversation with Sarah and what those guys have been doing as well. But hopefully, I can set the scene a little bit and give you some insight as to what we could be looking at. Before we sort of get into it, a bit of a vanity slide here. And I know these vanity slides are a bit much, but let me just sort of go through it very quickly. In case you don't know who dotdigital are, we're an omni-channel marketing automation solution for over 4,000 customers worldwide in a variety of sectors. Speed and ease of use is at the core of what we do. So hopefully we help you to reach your goals faster. And we integrate with a number of different platforms: Magento, Shopify, BigCommerce, Dynamics, Salesforce, etc. And you can see some of our clients there who have sort of voted for us to be leaders in the G2 automation grid report. And we've also been mentioned in the Forrester email marketing wave as well. So that's a little bit about us, but let's get back to the presentation fully. This guy here, he looks pretty happy, right? He's a happy marketer. He's using email in the right way, the way it should be used. But we'll kind of get to that, because what I want to look at initially is, we're still technically at the beginning of the year, so we're looking at trends for the rest of the year and sort of moving forward. And what 2020 did, it highlighted the fact that, well, everyone had a bit of a bum deal, really. And we learnt, if we learned one thing from 2020, it's that plans that we put in place can be ripped to shreds within sort of minutes of forming them. So we need to be flexible, and we need to be agile. Now, I hope I don't sort of lose you with this quote here, because it's quite clearly a sort of a B2C sort of e-commerce quote. But let's look past that, because when I see this, it just says to me that we're all in flux. You know, people's habits are changing, and we may never go back to how we were before. So our marketing has to change too. And that's why I'm talking a lot about agility at the moment. Agility will help you deliver the contextual messages that your database sort of demands. So as you can see here, this sort of right message, right person, right time is what we're looking for. You know, agile marketing, because, you know, if we're heading down a particular route that looks fruitful and then looks like it's going to end in impending doom, then we need to be able to pivot. But you know, that helps us sort of understand the movement of our audience more. So to do this, to pivot better, we need to have the right tech. So we can be as empowered and as nimble as we want to be. We need to have crunching. We need to be crunching data to serve up the timely and accurate messages to our audience. So as I said, you know, right person, right message, right time. But also we want to be sending on the right channel too, and that's key for us. It's nothing new. You know, I've said these sort of things before, but as I said, you know, people are changing the way they interact with us, and their inboxes are probably more crowded than they ever were before. So we need to be able to interact with them, not just using channels like email, but on other channels as well, to make sure we can really be impactful. So we need to switch up our strategies, and stay on top of our data, our tech, and everything. Because if we do have sort of poor data and poor strategy and poor tech, and I apologize because it's early in the morning on a Wednesday, it can leave us thinking like this, you know, I don't know what the I'm doing. And it's this, hear me out on this one. It's not to say that we don't know what we're doing. It's not to say that you don't know what you're doing or you have a clue. It's more a case of, in these times now where things are sort of changing quite a lot, it's overwhelming. So we need to get a handle on these three things: our data, our strategy, and our tech, in order to sort of have a win. Now, there's no silver bullets. No one has a silver bullet. But what I do know is that companies with omni-channel strategies, you know, fare better. And that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to supplement our website and support and engage our sort of customers across their life cycle. And it's very important that we understand that the life cycle that they're going on, because we need to have seamlessly things working in the background in order to bring our data together, so there's no disjoints when we're speaking to our sort of customers. Especially when we're dealing with an audience that doesn't know which way is up right now. You know, everything's sort of in flux. So as this stat says, we need to be working towards that. So we need to have some agility. We need to work towards an omni-channel strategy, and that gives us a better customer experience, which, regardless of what industry we're in, that's what we're looking to achieve: a better customer experience, because then we can get sort of repeat business, if we like. So, you know, what we want is, or what your customers want, is to be heard, and they want to be spoken to in the way that it sort of resonates with them. So we need a couple of bits and pieces overall. But what I'm going to do is sort of go through five channels really that you should be focusing on to help make yourself a little bit more agile and connect with people in the way that you need to. Some are great for retention. Some are great for acquisition, and some do both. But they're all great in terms of communications, which is great for you. So I'm going to go through all of these, but before I do, these are the 5 channels that you can prioritize. There's a document that you can download. But what I thought I'd do before we kick off is run a quick poll to see if you guys are awake. And this poll is going to be to see what channels you're using already. So I don't know if you can help me out there, Joyce. But the first poll is to look at what channels you're currently using.
Yeah, no problem. I'll bring that up now.
And yeah, then we can see if you guys are actually awake and paying attention. So let's see what channels you guys are using. There's a lot saying social. There's a lot saying live chat, which is great. Let's see here. It's great to see the numbers sort of going through as people are there. No one's saying, oh, there's someone saying push notifications. Right. There's only a few more I think need to vote, but a lot saying social here. So it's good to see these bits and pieces.
So yeah, if I just do end polling now.
Yeah, perfect.
And then I can share the results.
Excellent. Good. All right. So we're a lot looking at social. Great. Okay. Well, let's sort of move through and let me show you some of the channels that I was talking about. So if we can get rid of the polls. There we go. Okay. So first off is email, and I have to say email because that's the bread and butter. What more can I say about email that hasn't been said before? Really, it's completely unrivaled in terms of ROI, but that's only if we use it properly. So, I'm not going to go through the sort of basics, but I think there's kind of a bit of a spring clean that people need to be doing in terms of what they're doing when they're using email. The first off is to not completely sleep on your subject lines. You need to improve your subject lines all the time. It sounds like a basic thing, but I've seen some very tired subject lines. So work on that. Don't leave it to the last thing you do. Make sure they're compelling. Make sure they're to the point, and always optimize your subject lines. Another thing you can do as well is bring in sort of Bimmy into play. And what Bimmy does, just give you a quick explanation, is to give you more presence in the inbox. So you can start to have especially in Gmail, have a little logo. Your company logo in the inbox, so you stand out a little bit more and you get more sort of traction there. So that's something you can do with your subject lines, especially in the inbox. Another thing to do is stop sending from do not reply. Not everyone does this, but I think it's something to mention. I still see it quite a lot. People sending from do not reply. What it says is you're telling people that almost you don't care. Email is a two-way sort of communication channel, and what we're doing here is telling people that we don't want them to reply, when really, actually, we do want them to do that. We want to encourage them to reply. We want to use tools that allow us to see those replies as well. And there are tools like that within Engagement Cloud to help you sort of reply back to people and get on top of bits and pieces. There could be things like people telling you that their email address has changed. That is something that you want to keep on top of. We want to get smarter with segmenting our data. The better we segment our data, the better our sort of our campaigns are, and the more response we're going to get from them. So we should be collecting as much data as possible, but not to the point where we're not going to be using that data. It has to be useful data, stuff that we're going to put into our campaigns to help us segment and help us make sure that things are going to be more targeted. Now, think of predictive modeling, think of ERFM, which enables you to see how people are interacting with your campaigns, as well as how much time that they've spent in investing with you, they've donated to you, etc. So all of these sort of features can help you to narrow down exactly who you want to send a particular message to you, so that resonates more. You need to ask your audience as well. Surveys, always remember to sort of contact your database and see exactly what's sort of resonating with them, and do more of that sort of stuff that does resonate with them. Make sure you're talking to them all the time. It doesn't have to be lengthy surveys either. It can be sort of links in your campaigns, maybe big buttons that they click on that give you an indication of what sort of things they're looking at. But always make sure you're communicating with your audience, because that is your key. And then spruce up your email design. If your email's looking a little bit tired, then give it some life. There are loads of bits and pieces you can do to help raise the sophistication of your email. Sprucing up design is something that you should be thinking about all the time. Think about interactive campaigns, things like this one here from Nike, which enables you to sort of hover over particular areas. It highlights and it tells you exactly what's going on. This one from B&Q is a really nice one because it's interactive, because if you hit the switch, the lights turn on. So that's really, really quite nice, which kind of leads me down the route towards something which is AMP for email. Now this is really quite nice because it helps you to step up your email game and power up your email. But what is AMP? Well, it stands for Accelerated Mobile Pages. And it's a development from Google that helps you to create lightweight systems with speedier loads. It's a framework that consists of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But I just realized I just reeled off some really geeky bits and pieces. So the layman example of that, or the non-geeky answer to what is AMP, is it's cool email. Basically, it's a framework that makes your email more interactive, so you can do more cool stuff. It's about creating beautiful email that can be interacted with within the inbox. It's primarily for the Gmail audience. But when you consider that about 26% of emails are opened on Gmail, then it's not a bad thing. There's loads of things you can do with AMP, and you can see from this email from Nest, it enables you to sort of stand out in the inbox, especially, as I said, if the inbox is more crowded, we can do more bits and pieces. It allows you to have like carousels in there. You can collect data within here, and concertina effects and all these sort of bits and pieces, but also things like this that Nest have done with their campaign, which enables you to make sort of payments and add things to basket directly within the inbox. So that's a pretty cool sort of feature, enabling you to do that sort of straight away. So this is an example from Nest. They allowed you to be able to add to cart and then proceed to check out directly from here. So it raises the level of the user experience, and hopefully it makes it a little bit more attractive, which leads me through to my second poll. If you can help me out here, Joyce, on AMP.
Yeah, no problem.
And just see if people are sort of interested in this, or if I haven't done a good enough job. You can see if AMP is something that people are interested in. You can see here. I'm hoping that the not sure it'll work for me doesn't win, but so far it's maybe.
I'll just end off the polling there and then share the results.
There we go. I think more people are sort of interested to see what it could do for them. So if you do want to see what AMP can do for you, get in touch with us at dotdigital and we'll be able to sort of help you there. But I can move on. It's nice to see that people are awake. They're actually active and they're clicking on the polls, and I'm not putting you to sleep. Right. So that was email. That's the first sort of channel. The next one is SMS. I shouldn't have to sort of tell people why SMS is really important, but if you need to know, 23 billion text messages were sent daily last year. So, that goes to show how much people are interacting in that way. Everyone uses SMS. Everyone's got their phone on them. I'm sure you guys have got your phone on you now. SMS boosts sort of a near perfect engagement score. People are looking at their phones over 150 times a day, mostly, and sometimes more than that. And SMS is great because it's got this sort of read rate on here. 90% of SMS messages are read within the first 90 seconds. It's one of those things, you hear the message or your phone vibrates and you look at it straight away. I've got my watch, my messages come through my watch. So straight away, I've got something here and I'm looking at it. And it's great because it works with other channels too. And this is what we're looking at with an omni-channel sort of structure. We're looking to bring and incorporate other channels into the mix. So I got vaccinated the other day, and it came through from an SMS text message from my GP. I got the message. it drove me through to an email where there was more details on there, and then there was a link on the email to take me through to actually book a session. So that's how you can fuse the different channels together to get something to sort of push you through to an actual action. But you can use it for other bits and pieces as well. I wouldn't say overuse SMS, but use it at different times where there might be a bit of a hit for you. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, if that sort of works for you guys, if you can think of a way to sort of shoehorn yourselves in there. Singles Day, Mother's Day, national holidays, events, even virtual events like this one. So SMS is really powerful, and it's something that you should have in your arsenal to sort of fuse other channels together. Push notifications are great too. What it does is it helps you to push your brand to the forefront of your customer screen, and that just makes real good business sense. The great thing about push is that, unlike things like an email where you're fighting for position in the inbox, with push you're taking yourself directly to the app where you just don't have any competition at all. It's for you and you alone, for your brand and your brand alone. So that's what we're looking to do, is again cut through the noise and use some other channels that would help us get through to those individuals. You sort of draw people to download your app. And it's another thing of that psychology, as I was talking about with the SMS message. When you get a push notification, you're sort of drawn to open messages straight away. And you should probably check out the psychology behind push notifications, because there is something behind it. There's an urge to get people to sort of open and interact with them straight away. It's not purely a sort of a B2C strategy. I've seen it used in a number of different verticals, and it's not something that you have to use all the time. If you've got an app, it's not something that you're pushing people to all the time. It's as and when it sort of works for you. We at dotdigital use an app to communicate with people during our summit. It seems a long way away having a live event like that, but it was a great way for us to communicate with people at that time, that event. And it's not something that we use all year round. So, use it sparingly, but you can use it in unison with other channels too. Another thing is display ads. For me, personalization, when it's done right, can give you exceptional experiences. And that's what we're looking to do with these display ads. We're looking to use them with personalizable channels such as email to extend the journey past the realms of just the inbox. And the idea is to keep relevant things in front of people, with high intent sort of actions. They're browsing the website in bits and pieces. So therefore, you're taking what they're browsing about and sort of putting it in front of them. What's more, website visitors who are retargeted are more likely to convert. I think it's something like 43%, according to Criteo. So it's something that we should be using, because it can sort of drive people back. But what we're trying to do is keep on top of our data. If we're not keeping on top of our data, these sort of ads won't work. Otherwise, we'll be sort of driving people back to places that they've already gone through and performed that action, downloaded that document, or made that donation or whatever. So we need to make sure that our data's in order. And I think for all of these channels as well, to help them talk to one another, we need to make sure that our data is being looked at. So that's another key thing over all of this, is making sure you're keeping on top of your data. Lastly is live chat. I know a lot of people as well have mentioned social, and social's great here. I think the key benefit of social is to make sure that you have links available in things like Instagram, because people are sort of browsing on that more often. So links to Instagram to actually sign up to your emails, and that can help springboard into other channels like this as well. And another top tip is, if when people are signing up initially, is to add them to a Facebook custom audience. And that can help you use these other channels after maybe email isn't quite resonating. But live chat is really strong. And we've seen a rise in live chat over the last year or so, because it enables to connect people in a way that maybe other channels don't, because you're right in front of people. And a great quote from me is this quote here from Virgin, that they're saying that customers convert a lot better when they use live chat versus customers who don't. And there's a couple of reasons why that is the case. So let me sort of run through a few of them. First off, it's just great for marketing live chat. If you're not using it already, there's a real way that you can collect more data to help build up your whole database and make your marketing ecosystem more effective. So that's something that it's really strong for. It's really great at support, solving queries right then and there. You know, live chat agents are often able to support a number of people at a time. So that's really strong for us to be doing, but it also gives us an escalation point as well. You know, if we can't deal with it on live chat, then you've got, you know, the phone, and there's other bits and pieces you can sort of head towards. It's also cheaper. It's cheaper than sort of manning phones. It's cheaper than having to get people to reply to emails all the time. It just kind of works in that way. There was a Forrester study that suggests that live chat is about 20 to 50% cheaper. So that's, you know, that's a great reason in itself to be using it. It helps to build stronger relationships more quickly. You know, empathy is something that we need to be sort of considering when we're connecting with people. And live chat is it's a personal, non-intrusive form of sort of contact, and you'll be able to connect better with your customers and sort of build up their trust when using this as well. So it's a great tool for that, and it boosts your credibility just for the fact that you're there all the time, allowing people to sort of communicate with you. It's one of my pet peeves, is going to a website, trying to find a phone number to sort of contact that business and not having that number there at all. But if you've got a live chat there, it's mostly sort of manned all the time. If it's not manned all the time, then you can have sort of automated messages being sent to people, or maybe use bots. But it's a great way to boost your credibility because you are contactable a lot of the time. So those are the channels I was sort of going through. I wanted to go through with you guys. I covered a lot in that, but let me sort of summarize very quickly there. Mastering a suite of channels is like anything in marketing. It takes time, it takes effort, and it takes patience. The key is using data to connect all of your touch points so that your customers experience a smooth and seamless as possible experience. But that is exactly what we're talking about there. As I said, there's more information in this this guide. If you want to sort of download that, you can use this QR code here. I've just started using QR codes a little bit more. Maybe it's see if it works. But there you go. You can download that if you want. And my details are here, but thank you for listening. Right. You've probably heard enough of me now. So what I should probably do is get Sarah to join me. Are you there, Sarah?
Certainly am.
Good. Let's move this along. There we are. There you are. There I am. Excellent. Right. As I said, I've been talking quite a lot. Over to you now. Tell us something. Tell us something about yourself.
Well, that's always the tricky question, but yeah, I mean, I'll go slightly more professional, and I'll just say that so I've worked at Action for Children for just over 2 years now, and I work in our loyalty team, and I basically sit on dotdigital every day and sort of do all of our email marketing, and also for sort of events, products, our automations, things like that. So yeah, full use of what is on offer is sort of my day to day.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Right. So it's, I guess, now time for you to tell us a little bit more about Action for Children.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a sort of summary slide, but yeah, we work all across the UK, all nations, and we support and protect children, young people and families. We've been doing it for over 150 years. And this year you know, it's not been easy, but we've been able to keep 99% of our services open, been able to continue to support children and young people. A lot of our services have either moved online, on the phone. Our services and sort of frontline workers have been incredible to adapt to the needs, to continue to support people. And in sort of March, we did launch an emergency fund so that we could sort of continue to provide food parcels, learning resources, things like that. So we haven't stopped. You know, lockdown has been quite difficult on vulnerable families. So it's you know, we had to continue and we had to find ways to adapt. And that included ways to adapt our fundraising so that we could continue to support those children, young people and families. So
that's great. I mean, it's good. It's great to see that it's still you know, you're still able to sort of function and do bits and pieces, especially regarding the last year. I feel like a broken record talking about sort of COVID all the time, but it's something that you sort of need to consider and talk about. So it's great that you guys have still been able to do the good work that you're known for. Right. So I had fun last year at a particular time. I'm sure you did as well at this time, but it was for the Dotties. In case anyone doesn't know what the Dotties are, shame on you for not knowing. But each year we try to run a bit of a, I guess it's a competition really, but it's a recognition for email excellence, and give our clients the chance to sort of talk about what they've done that's really interesting, any campaigns that they've run, using, you know, our features and you know, highlighting exactly what they're doing. That's excellent. So you won a Dottie this year. Can you tell us how that was? As if this is tell us already, but how was winning a Dottie?
I think this is the definition of a vanity slide. But yeah, no, for us it was really great. It was heartbreaking that it couldn't be in person, because I could imagine the night would have been a bit more wild than it was. But I mean, it was amazing. You know, I was very proud, like really proud to be able to put something together. And you know, for us, it was in a time where everything was stretched, resource, capacity, everything. So not only was, in my opinion, the event itself that we created amazing, but to be able to then quantify that even more so is, you know, incredible. And yeah, it's a great thing to talk about and shout about. So.
I'm so glad you added that little GIF in there.
Oh no. Was have to do the classic, like, was filmed when you could do things and have a life. It was all pre-recorded. So yeah, it was one of those ones where I didn't have it in me to do the awkward sit and stare at a screen and pretend over Zoom. So roped a couple friends in who I do work with, so it counts.
Okay, it does count. Right, let's bring it back to what the people actually want to hear, and the reason you won a Dottie. So can you run us through you know, what you did for that winning campaign? How did it sort of come together? Yeah, so Boycott Your Bed didn't exist pre coronavirus. So we have our flagship corporate event, Bike Night, which has been running for 22 years. It's raised millions of pounds. It's but it's corporate. There are multiple locations across the UK. It normally happens in the October. And it's built from board members who recruit in people, and they do physically sleep out. So, you know, when pandemic hit, we kind of were very aware that it was extremely unlikely that we would be able to run that event, because with all the planning that goes into it, you know, we would have needed to know as soon as possible. I mean, we were already planning for Bike Night, but with, you know, we couldn't risk losing that much income. So it was a case of what can we do instead? So our amazing events team at Action for Children actually still put on a sleep out event, but actually we opened it up so it wasn't just corporate, it became mass.
and it was families, individuals, friends, colleagues, corporates, the bite night people still,
Right.
but it went completely virtual. So it was a celebrity-led event. So it was hosted by Anthea Turner, which is great. And there were lots of different things to do on the night. So there was from 6:30 onwards, it was all kids focused. So there's like treasure hunts, things like that to do. And then there was like live performances. And all whilst, you know, people were fundraising, there was raffles, silent auctions that people could bid on, text to donate elements. So it was a fundraising event still, but it was very much open to anyone. And they just had to sleep in an unusual place in their house or garden. And yeah, we got lots of great pictures, and you see there 2 little lads sleeping in their bath. I don't know how long that lasted. Probably, I hope all night.
You'd hope so. You'd hope so. I mean, I guess the thing about this is that you didn't plan to do this. I mean, again, not to bring up COVID again, but you know, it's a mainstay. It was something that you know meant that your plans had to change completely. So I think that's great, because you know I've been talking about sort of flexibility and being agile, and that's what you guys were sort of able to do. So it's great that you know you could sort of pivot in this way. But yeah, I think that's it's sort of brilliant, and it obviously it was great because you won an award. So yeah,
very smug about it. Still great.
still really happy about that. So will this what's happened like last year, will it change your approach in future? Is this the way you're going to continue to work?
Yeah, I mean, it was so last minute and everyone pulled together, but it paid off. You know, the event itself was really successful. The fundraising that we got out of it was amazing. It opened up opportunity of, oh, we can do things like this. We can test things. I think in the charity sector, as a generalization, it's quite risk averse, because you don't just have all this money to throw about with no chance of a return on investment. You know, everything has to be quite calculated. But with this, it was very much like, well, what else are we going to do? We don't know. Let's go for it. And I mean, we're doing Boycott Your Bed again this year. It's still unsure of whether we are going to continue with Bite Night this year, because we're not sure with what's going on in the world by then.
Sorry.
Tech issues.
Typical. Sorry, go ahead.
But I mean, it opened up virtual events as an option. So we were able to then run 2 more virtual events over Christmas time. And I don't know if we would have ever really had the opportunity to do that if we hadn't have just gone for it and went ahead with Boycott Your Bed. So yeah, it has changed things for the future, I think, as well. Just generally, you can't just go back to sort of being we always say it's quite elitist when you have just a location for a event. You're cutting out quite a few people that can't attend. Why would you do that when you have proven you can do it online? So I think hybrid events are definitely going to be sort of how things need to move forward. And I know that we're not stopping with that virtual side of things, regardless, pandemic or not.
Yeah, I think it's key now. I've had this sort of conversation with a number of people in different verticals as well, that hands have been forced into working in sort of creative ways, as you guys did there. But you know, those sort of things, if they're working, then continue to do it. I think that's it's brilliant to see that you know, things have been able to work. Events such like this as well have been able to work, even though you can't have sort of physical interaction with people. But when you do, you'll be able to sort of juggle both together and get a sort of great feel there. But what I was sort of thinking, again, this is sort of more to do with COVID. There's but I've seen it in general anyway. Marketing teams have sort of gotten smaller. So there's changes like that. You know, people have been put on furlough. I'm sure your team is hit as well. So how have you sort of dealt with having a smaller team?
Yeah, I think, we're all going through changes and priorities are changing, but actually for things like this, especially with the virtual side, without having sort of like, it is what we had for dotdigital and all the automated processes, everything,
Mm-hmm.
we would not have been able to do sort of the level of complexity that we did if we didn't have the basics in place. For Boycott Your Bed, we had the dotdigital forms as our registration forms. Obviously that's connected straight away into the email, into the SMS, all the data's there. There's no manual processes. And I think if there was any manual processes on the side of for the supporter where there were delays, things like that, it would have impacted. And with a virtual event, the whole thing is you send the email with the link to the event in.
Yeah.
If you haven't set up your expectations and standards of what someone's going to get on that journey from when they sign up to when they have done the event, you need to make sure people are opening and reading, and that comes from, like you said before, your data is clean, and by having the integration, it couldn't have been clean. I mean, that's what someone has entered in. If that's not their details, and not really much we can do. So having all of that it made it a lot easier. We wouldn't have been able to pull it off otherwise, because like you said, teams are shrinking and there are priorities. And it's making sure these people are connected to us and they're stewarded well, so that they don't just do this one thing for us, that they do something else for us afterwards, whether that's for us, make a donation or do another event or re-participate this year. They didn't have a good experience first time, the communication was really rubbish, I didn't even get my link, it was really confusing, things like that. They're not going to do it again. Why would they? So having all of that in place has certainly, I would say, helped us, put us in good stead for getting strong re-participation this year.
Yeah, I like that. Look, no one wants to have to sort of struggle and be stretched in a number of ways, but as I said, and I'm going to say these things because I work at dotdigital, but as I said, the tech needs to be really strong. If you haven't got that tech, then you can't you can't stretch yourself at all, especially when it comes down to sort of crunching through the data and being able to serve up individual messages for people. If you don't have that right tech to do that, it's going to be impossible to do it. So with that, I think you've mentioned a couple of things already, like automation, but what channels, not channels, but what features do you really make use of? And are there any that you haven't been able to get your hands on just yet, but you're sort of thinking about using?
Yeah, so we use obviously the emails and all the automated elements that come with that. Being able to build journeys for events, products, and things like that is our bread and butter. We strongly believe with charity, people do need to be stewarded. So the automated emails, things like that, that is so strong. SMS we use it for Boycott Your Bed. When someone signed up, they got a confirmation email and a confirmation SMS to sort of set the tone that we are going to use SMS to talk to you.
You can show that there you go. Yeah, you got your SMS.
And then that meant, we've already sent you one text message, so you can expect to get more. And then we used it sort of for flash messages. So when we announced our celebrities, when the silent auction went live, and then also whilst the event was happening, we sent text messages at key points in the night. So if you can see on there, it's you can help keep children Jack, but that video had just been shown when that text message got sent. So that's great. And SMS, it, like you said earlier, so not to overuse it, but I always think if you've got news flash information or it's part of an event, it's so great to use. And then we use pages and forms, which I mentioned. One thing that we have upgraded recently, and we are going to be using all the sort of we're using the e-commerce element, but for our gifts. So instead of a pair of black jeans, it would be a fund like a donation of £25. So we are slowly but steadily integrating that into to be able to do better segmenting, better bespoke tailored journeys based on history of giving. So yeah, there are definitely elements, we have them, it's just been a time thing of not really being able to fully get stuck into it at the moment. It's on the list.
Yeah, I think it's nice to see you working in those ways, because for me there's a consultancy side of the business as well, which great, we've got the tech and go ahead, use the tech, but I think where things get really interesting is where you can talk to someone and say, well, actually, if you use this tool, which isn't typically meant for X, and you use it for Y, it is meant for X and use it for Y, that's where the stuff gets really interesting. So hearing you use e-commerce tools when you're not typically an e-commerce business, I think that's sort of really, really nice, and sort of pushing things forward. In terms of pushing things forward and making sure you're getting the best out of the platform and the channels, what are your measurements for success? This is always an interesting one for me, but how do you measure success?
So I suppose within a campaign, it will always be your classic, your open rates, your click-through rates, all of that. That is like during the campaign. I always think you can start to make quick real-time decisions of, especially if it's in an automated journey, if someone they're not really opening that, why is that subject line, maybe change it, because you've got the ability to be able to do that. So they're like your classics during campaign. But I think in the charity sector, it's the whole life cycle. So we've got someone in and they go through this journey, whether it's stewardship or whether it's for an event. For us, a key measurement of success is the lifetime value, or what do they do next. That comes with having a full sort of product list to be able to offer people, and that comes from, is it just a cash ask, or is it another event? I think for us, it's about as well reparticipation. So it'll be for us this year, okay, so out of all those people that signed up last year and fundraise, how many of them do it again this year? It's hard to have, we don't have those figures because it was a brand new event, but that is something that we would normally reflect on. And that's the same with just fundraising appeals. Okay, well, they donated via email at Christmas. Will they do it again when we do our next fundraising appeal? Because you're building up a loyal base of, and they are customers at the end of the day, charity or not, they're giving money. It is they are a customer, and it is making sure that they are a repeat customer, because they're the best kind. Charity or not, it's a lot easier to keep someone than to acquire new ones.
100%.
That's my job. So I'm all for like making sure we get the most out of people while they're with us, and that comes from a good experience from the day that they do sign up, or whether they make a donation. What sort of emails do they get, like any monthly communications, and making sure that is bespoke and tailored to them. There's no point sending people like sort of one size fits all campaigns anymore, because you'll just get deleted from the inbox straight away. You'll get unsubscribed, 100%. Even if they might be sort of interested in what you do, but you sent them the wrong thing that's not relevant to them at all. So they might just check out early, because, as you said, crowded inboxes.
100%.
Got to cut away all of the rubbish.
I want to check now, as we've been talking about these measurements of success. I want to see now. So Joyce, I need you back again. Let's do a poll and see what measurements of success people are using, whether they're sort of focused on opens. One thing I would say about opens is, you shouldn't sort of focus on them too much. It's an indicator of how things are going, but opens alone don't give you the full story. And just because someone hasn't opened one particular campaign doesn't mean that it hasn't been the whole series hasn't been a success. So it's great to sort of see that, but clicks come through there. as one person has lifetime value, hopefully we can get more people to sort of convert to that using that. But that's really interesting to see. With that in mind as well, do you guys run any testing?
Yeah, I mean, we do sort of your classic sort of A/B testing with subject lines, especially with our like our standard monthly sort of communications, because they are very sort of on the dot type of comms. We need to sort of maximize on that. But also now we have stronger data, and by being able to use the e-commerce elements as our giving history, we are now starting to tailor content. So for us, it's normally a split between stuff that's really cause related, and stuff that's more just for the people that like to support charity, but they're not necessarily connected to us directly. But they did boycott your bed because it seemed like a fun event, rather than I did boycott your bed because I really care about Action for Children's work and I think what they do is amazing. We gather a lot of insight on our supporters from when they sign up, which kind of finds out what audience they sit in and what cause they care about most. And if they're a parent, we obviously have parent focused products, but there's no point sending stuff about, say, the Very Hungry Caterpillar, which we have a partner with, to someone who hasn't got kids, because it's not relevant at all. So we are doing a lot of that testing, and it's testing what people say they care about or say they are versus what they actually are, because our hunch is that sometimes people do say that I do really care about you, because it's going to sound like an awful person, but actually some people are just interested in doing events, and that's absolutely fine. But we need to find that out so that we can give people the information that they care about and that's relevant to them. So it's something that we're doing a lot more now, and we are finding it to be a lot more successful. People are more engaged with what the content of sort of the emails or emails within automation are. Perfect. Which is positive, because it takes time to test, but it is worth it if you are trying to find out something about an audience in specifically.
Oh, we've got Joyce here.
Yes, no, I was just going to say I'm conscious of time. I know we've had some questions come in, being conscious of I'm the strict one to make sure everyone can go on for their meetings afterwards. So I was going to bring in some of the questions, Gavin, if that was okay.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Perfect. So one of the ones, Sarah, and I'd be interested in, Gavin, your point on it, is did you have to resource the campaign any differently? Was there any, more staff upskilling or extra training? I know you sort of mentioned the challenges on resourcing, but did you have to go about it differently?
Well, we had, so for Bite Night, we'd actually set a lot of stuff up already that kind of just completely had to go out the window. And it was a case of everyone pulling together. For the registration, we had for 3 different types of audiences, which required different types of content in their emails. So the events team, who wouldn't necessarily write emails for supporters, they had to help. We were low on resource, and it was a case of everyone got stuck in. And I think where it helped for us, and it would only ever happen in the pandemic, is because we didn't have very much BAU. This was a core focus for everyone in the organization. We agreed, okay, we need to make this the best it can be. Everyone must pull together to put this, to make it amazing. So it was a massive team effort. So regardless of me holding the dotties, it was a big team effort.
Absolutely. And then one of the questions, Sarah, for you as well was, interesting, what was the most successful new marketing tool you've used and why?
I think for us, the SMS, we've used it before, but it's never really sort of pulled off the way it did. I think we've used it before as part of a campaign as a test, and we were a bit like, it hasn't really done what we thought it would. But for this, it was great to be able to keep it in line with the event. It made it feel really relevant. It was a core part of the journey, which I think we would continue to do for any type of event now, regardless. Especially things like when we do get our challenge events up and running, sending someone who's taking part in the London Marathon text message the morning of to be like, good luck for today because you're amazing. Like that is, and you know, as Gavin said earlier, sort of the open, like the read rate on them, everyone's on their phone all the time. You can't miss that, and it doesn't have to be an SMS to ask them to do something. It can just be a relationship building tool that makes someone feel, oh, do you know what, they actually really care, so I'm going to raise millions more for them. I did it.
Perfect. One for you, Gavin. So firstly, can you go over what AMP is again, but then following on from that, is there anything you can recommend for non-Gmail audiences? This particular person, they're healthcare workers, and assuming it won't work for NHS addresses.
Right. Yeah. So AMP is basically making your emails more interactive. It's a way of lowering barriers to certain things. So we're always trying to either drive people to the website and get them to perform an action, or if we can with AMP, we can do that perform that action directly within the email. So that makes them a lot more sort of interactive. But as I was saying, you know, for people who don't necessarily send to Gmail, you know, you can have a split on your in your database to send AMP on or off. So that's one thing. But if you can't send AMP emails, I would suggest sending out GIFs. One of my things, whenever I present, I always talk about GIFs all the time. I think they're incredible. They're really sort of simple to put together, but they tell a story very, very quickly in just a couple of cells, and it gets the job done. It's like when people ask about video in email, it doesn't necessarily work because, you know, we're not quite there yet with the ISPs being able to support that. But what you do is the first cell of that video, if it's a GIF, then it, you know, it kind of brings things to life a little bit more, but it shows people, you know, if you click on this, this is what you're going to see next. So that's what you should be looking at. But, you know, interactive emails, AMP and GIFs, that's what you need to do to sort of stand out a little bit more in the inbox.
Perfect, thank you. And then one question, which I suppose really for both of you, and obviously Sarah, you know, you've mentioned the importance of, you know, segmentation and understanding your audience and sending out relevant emails and things like that. Do you have a data governance strategy in place currently, or is that something that, you know, sort of looking at in the future?
We are currently going through sort of major data governance because we are integrating all of our systems. So anyone in the charity sector probably knows about Razor's Edge. So Razor's Edge is our actual database where everything gets stored, and we currently have got integration between our website and Razor's Edge into dotdigital. We are currently connecting some other systems as well. So that integration has meant we need to go back over everything, and where we're now giving history into dotdigital. If you've got multiple emails, well, we can actually only connect it to one that is in dotdigital. So it's now forced the hand of doing that, but it's also so important getting anyone that doesn't have an opt-in out of dotdigital to avoid anyone sending anything they shouldn't be sending. It is something that we are now focusing on sort of a lot more. I know that I wasn't at Action for Children at the time, but the time of GDPR when all of that changed, I remember it in my last company, and it has a big impact. So I know that they did something and it changed a lot of processes, but with the integration now, it's a case of, well, the integration is forcing us to make sure that everything is in line and how it should be, so that there isn't any mistakes and the data is solid.
Yeah, absolutely. So Gavin, I'm sure, do you want to sort of comment on that and sort of the importance of, you know, a data governance strategy?
Yeah, it's really important. I mean, we should be thinking about a couple of things really, and it's to be open, honest, and transparent. You know, and if we can do that, then we have the right tools in the background to kind of marry your data together, show people exactly what it is we're trying to send them, so that we're being more relevant. and just communicating the right way. But as Sarah said, you need to have those sort of tools and tech in the background to sort of marry your data together to allow you to send people exactly what they want.
Perfect. And yeah, just conscious coming up to time. Also, just to say, we've been asked the QR code. People didn't get a chance to take it. We'll send out the link to that afterwards. So that's absolutely no problem to make sure people can get that guide. So some really, really interesting points. Thank you very much. I mean, I think I have to say definitely the point on the do not put a do not reply email, because I've had that on something recently and absolutely drove me crazy. But you know, so that really important. And Sarah, your point about managing expectations. You know, think about what you're sending to people and what they expect. So yeah, so really, really good insights. And yes, somebody's just asked, we will send out a copy of the recording as well, so people have got all that information. So it just leaves me to say thank you very much to Gavin and Sarah for joining us today. That was really interesting. And we've had a few other questions that we haven't had to cover, but we will make sure that they're followed up with everybody afterwards. So thank you very much, and hope to see you at the next session. Thank you.
Cheers.